Hey guys, good afternoon and welcome to the 330 Sports Show. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everyone had a nice holiday with their family, friends, whatever. It is now January 3rd, 2023. A lot on the show today. We will cover a ton of stuff, so I'm just going to show you right now what we're going to cover. We're going to go over the Buckeyes and Bulldogs. That was an absolute classic in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to kind of wrap up bowl season here. Obviously, last night in the NFL, there was a really scary scene with Demar Hamlin. We'll talk about that a little bit. Betting in Ohio is now legal. So I actually just downloaded an app. I placed my first few bets, and it was a lot of fun. So we'll talk about betting in Ohio a little bit. Basketball, you can see there's kind of a B theme with this. Last night for the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell put up 71 points. So we'll talk all about that. The Browns and Steelers are coming up this weekend. Barbara Walters, Pele, and Pope Benedict, who is no longer the Pope, but obviously a previous Pope, all passed away over the last week or so. So rest in peace to them. But felt like I wanted to mention that before we got into the show for today. So I want to start off by talking about Demar Hamlin and this very, very scary scene that happened on Monday Night Football last night. So, secondary is the Bills at Cincinnati. Now, two of the top three teams in the AFC. This game was for playoff positioning. The Bills, if they win out, are the number one seed. Kansas City's right up there. But all that remains secondary because what we saw last night has frankly never happened on a football field. Now, on that same football field in Cincinnati is where Ryan Shazier, former Ohio State Buckeye, former Pittsburgh Steeler, was basically paralyzed from the waist down. On that field earlier this year where Tua Tagovailoa was basically knocked completely unconscious. And then last night, not to make light of those things because those are very serious health issues, but when a player goes down, you generally think head, neck, you're checking for movement and stuff like this. So, and I have to admit, I wasn't watching the game live. I did see the replay and I saw it once, and that was all I needed to see it for. But this young man, who, by the way, is from just about an hour away in Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh area, actually was an Ohio State recruit, was a Penn State recruit, ended up signing with the Pitt Panthers, but made a tackle playing from his safety position on T. Higgins. Pretty hard hit, gets up, and then immediately just down. And you could see the concern immediately with the players on the field. So basically these players made like kind of a human wall in a circle to block off what was happening. And you could see the emotion, the fear, the nerves that were going on these players. And we think of these athletes as just like, these guys on the football field, whatever. No, this is their brother. This is their teammate. This is someone they are with more than their own families. And he goes down, and they had to perform CPR on this young man for 9 minutes. 9 minutes. So he went into cardiac arrest. His heart basically stopped. And, a very, very scary scene. And it puts it all into perspective because, at that point, football is secondary. Yeah, injuries are a part of the game, but this is no ordinary injury. This isn't, someone spraining an ankle or, even getting a concussion or something to that magnitude. This is someone's life. And, I believe it was Ryan Clark or Booger McFarland said on the ESPN telecast last night, they kind of have a deal. It's like, yeah, it's a violent sport, but you're playing this game knowing at the end of the day, that guy that's across from you, you're going to go to battle, but at the end of the day, you're going to go home, you're going to be with your family, you're going to be able to see your friends, you're going to be at practice, whatever it might be. Yeah, you might be banged up, but that's sort of the deal. The deal, this was a different deal. This was something that I have personally never seen before. When they bring out the stretcher or the cart, that's a scary thing. But when they bring out an ambulance on the field and there's actually CPR going on, it makes it that much scarier. So at last check, he was in critical condition at a Cincinnati hospital. I have not heard any other updates since then, but we hope and pray for his health and well-being. Again, the game is secondary. That game was suspended midway through the first quarter. No timetable for a makeup at this point has been known or let be known. I'm sure the NFL is scrambling as we're in the final week of the season now, and you really can't push things back. So, but again, that's secondary. They'll figure all that stuff out as it unfolds. But again, first and foremost, Demar Hamlin, his health and well-being are the most important thing. I hate to say silver lining, but one silver lining of this situation is over $4 million has been raised for a charity that he supported. It was sort of to buy Christmas gifts. So there was a GoFundMe set up, and the goal was $2,500, and it surpassed the 4 million mark just overnight. So just fantastic there. And again, a silver lining on an otherwise very, very scary and bleak situation. So again, our prayers go out to Demar Hamlin, his teammates, the Buffalo Bills, and the Bengals too. What those players had to see and be a part of was very, very scary. So had to start off the show with that. Let's go into kind of the show that I had planned for today before last night happened. And we're going to get into betting in Ohio. So right back to Cincinnati. This post was put out there, I believe, at right at after midnight on January 1st. Pete Rose bets on the Reds to win the World Series with the first official legal sports bet in Ohio. So that was kind of a neat thing. Bernie Kosar, I saw put $19,000 on a Browns money line, which he won. I'm not sure if that was his money or a whatever group he was with, but I thought that was kind of neat. So sports betting is now legal in Ohio. I went and downloaded one of the apps. If they want to sponsor our show, then I'll start saying their name. But they did have a nice little bonus for signing up, and I was able to basically double my money I put in overnight on the first day with bowl season being there. That was pretty cool. But right away, you feel the effects of betting. If you haven't been a bettor, now you kind of feel the effects of it, and you're kind of more invested in this in these games. So I actually bet on the Mississippi State Bulldogs over the Illinois Fighting Illini. Now I got the game at 3.5, and this is what's called a front door cover. So I had Mississippi State as a 3.5 point favorite. They go up 13-10 and kick a field goal with 4 seconds left. And as it comes in gambling, there's some good and there's some bad. And I happen to get on the good side of it. Illinois, last, few plays, you're throwing crazy play. You're throwing the ball backwards. You're trying to lateral it. You're trying to throw it all across the field. And Mississippi State picks it up and returns it for a seemingly meaningless touchdown unless you had the game, which made it 19-10 instead of 13-10. Thus, covered the point spread at 3.5, and thus a lot of money changing hands either way. So that kind of shows you the fun you can have. Now, if you're on the other side, that's not so fun. If you had Illinois covering that spread. So depending on your luck, that's just what it is. And as a smart bettor told me, what goes around comes around. So with that win, I probably at some point will get a loss to that magnitude at some point too. But want to switch it up now and go to obviously the game that was the most important since we've last been on, the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, this game was just an absolute classic, a heartbreaker. I think you guys know I am an Ohio State Buckeye. I'm an alum. I'm a fan. All this and that, but I was hoping for a Buckeyes win. I did not anticipate a Buckeyes win until probably midway through the third quarter, and I was starting to feel it. Buckeyes were up by 14, and against arguably the best team in the country, probably will be the best team in the country, hasn't lost a game all year, 14-0, defending national championship, arguably the flag bearer of college football today, the Georgia Bulldogs, and Ohio State was right there with them, if not the better team on New Year's Eve from kickoff to, unfortunately, the last play of the game, which ended up in a missed kick for the Buckeyes. Now, I'm going to get into some of the ins and outs and more important plays, but first want to wrap up with you what happened in the semifinals. As you guys know, Georgia and Ohio State, an absolute classic. Georgia wins 42-41. TCU and Michigan in the Fiesta Bowl was another classic. TCU wins that one 51-45. And some of the Michigan fans I know did not take TCU serious. They thought, hey, we're getting back to the national championship. We're either going to get a rematch against Georgia, who beat them up last year, or we're going to get a rematch against Ohio State for the national title. TCU just comes out and whoops them. And now it ended up being a really close game, but Michigan got a little cute and whatnot. But, the national championship is set. And unfortunately, I think the national championship was won on Saturday by the Bulldogs because it felt like Ohio State and Georgia were the best two teams in the country. Now, Michigan obviously has something to say about that because they beat Ohio State, but TCU took care of business and got it done. So TCU was a very fast team. They really surprised me with their team speed, but two great games. A number that stuck out to me was the number 40. And let me explain what that means. Ohio State is now 259-1, dating all the way back since 1904 when scoring 40 or more points. Their only loss, unfortunately, was this past Saturday to the Georgia Bulldogs, 42-41. Ryan Day even said, I think we got to get to 40. We got to get in the 40s to beat this team. And he was right. These are two really good teams, two really good offenses. Ohio State with an elite offense, Georgia with a really good offense, and Ohio State with a pretty good defense, and Georgia with an elite defense. And Ohio State was able to move the ball and really dominate on both sides of the ball, on the offensive side of the ball, and taking advantage of Georgia's defense. Now, there were 5 plays in this game, and I'm going to outline them for you, that I think 5 plays in the game, starting from the middle of the third quarter on, that really affected the outcome of this game. And I'm going to go through them one by one with you. So starting with number 1, Javon Bullard's targeting call that was overturned late in the third quarter on a third down play. It was like 3rd and 12 or something like that. CJ Stroud throws the ball up in the air. Marvin Harrison goes to catch it, and Javon Bullard, again, targeting was called on the field. It looked like helmet to helmet to me. Marvin Harrison, the Buckeyes' best weapon, maybe not their best player, but their best weapon, was knocked out, concussion for the rest of the game, basically changing Ohio State's game plan. The Buckeyes were up 38-24 after kicking a field goal. If they get in the end zone, they're now up 18, which really changes the course of the game. It would have been 42-24 at that point, and that would have made a major, major difference in this game. Georgia would have been down 3 scores in that game. So that is play number 1. Play number 2. Officials reviewed a 4th down play to see if Georgia tight end Brock Bowers converted. Instead of first down, Ohio State being up 14, it's now first down for the Bulldogs. They end up getting a field goal, trim the lead down to 11. So I had mentioned the lead could have been 18. Now, even with the field goal there, then it would have been 15. They still need 2 touchdowns. Big difference there. But Georgia gets the field goal. Now they're down 11. So 2 plays that really changed the course of things. I'm actually going to flip-flop 3 and 4, but 3 in my sense. Kirby Smart calls a timeout seemingly after Ohio State successfully converts a fake punt with the Buckeyes up. So with the Buckeyes up in the game. So Ohio State goes and gets a first down on a fake punt, and the officials grant Kirby Smart a timeout. Now, looking at some still images, looking at ESPN had a bunch of different cameras that you could watch on like a simulcast. It looked to me like they snapped the ball before the timeout was asked for. But again, we're not on the field. We don't know. So it looked, it's just conjecture on our part. And, you can throw out conspiracy theories and all that stuff. But unfortunately, Ohio State does not get that. So Georgia gets the ball back. Ohio State punts. And previous to that, Arian Smith, who is a absolute track star for Georgia, 1 play drive, 76 yards after Ohio State was up 11. Now they go out. Arian Smith, a safety, I believe it was Lathan Ransom, trips on the play, and it's just a wide open walk-in touchdown for Georgia. Ladd McConkey gets a 2-point conversion. Now the Buckeyes are only up 38-35 with a few minutes to go. Ohio State then goes down on its second to last drive of the game, gets a field goal. They're up 41-35. And, we know Georgia goes down, scores a touchdown with, a little over less than a minute left in the game. And then Ohio State gets the ball back with 55 seconds or 54 seconds, right around there. CJ Stroud, unbelievable game. We're going to get to him in a minute. But CJ Stroud just carrying this team on his shoulders. You got to think, and I'm going to talk to you about all the players that were out of the game here in a minute too for Ohio State, all their skill weapons. And I'm not trying to make excuses, because Ohio State, talent for talent, should be as good, if not better, than most teams in the country on any given day. However, when you're playing the number 1 team in the country, Georgia, they can pretty much match you athlete for athlete. And Georgia was not nearly as banged up as the Buckeyes in this game. So CJ Stroud uses his legs, has a 27-yard scramble, a couple completions, gets the ball down to the 30 of Georgia with 20, 30 seconds left. Ohio State is unable to move it any further from there. And unfortunately, Noah Ruggles, who has been pretty good. I think this was only his 3rd missed kick in 2 years for Ohio State. Just pulled it wide left, and he really did shank it, but he definitely missed it, and just an unfortunate miss. And if you watch, I believe it was on ESPN, they have a multi-screen shot of the ball dropping in Times Square and Noah Ruggles' kick missing, and it's almost second for second. The ball hits, and the ball drops in Times Square right at the stroke of midnight. So really unfortunate there for the Buckeyes. So we're going to say this loss took place in 2022 and not 2021. But Georgia led in this game for a total of 1 minute and 49 seconds. They led with 55 seconds left in the first half before Ohio State went down and scored. And they led for 54 seconds in the second half, the last 54 seconds of the game. So really unfortunate situation there. I'm just going to show you a few still images now on your computer screen or your phone or wherever you're watching. These might not be the best images, but the kick, obviously, the Lathan Ransom trip, the targeting on Marvin Harrison. I actually think the Brock Bowers call was the right call. He was in bounds. It should have been a first down, but just shows you like a game of inches. He probably got that first down by about 5-6 inches and really could have changed the outcome of that game. And then the circle one up top, you might have to zoom in, but Kirby Smart is still not calling a timeout yet as the ball is in the up man's hand, which was Mitch Rossi there for the Buckeyes. So just an unfortunate series of events that plagued the Buckeyes on a night where they otherwise played really outstanding football. The defense came out and played great in the third quarter. Ohio State outscored the Bulldogs 10-0 in the third quarter to give them a 38-24 lead before going in. And Georgia outscores the Buckeyes 18-3 in the fourth quarter to get the 1-point win. So just really, really tough luck for the Buckeyes. And however you felt as a Buckeye fan after that Michigan game, losing is never a good thing, but hopefully at least it gave you some semblance of we belong. We belong on the stage with this team. We are maybe even better than this team. If we play 10 times, Georgia might win 5 or 6. Ohio State might win 4 or 5, but we are right there with the most elite teams in the country. Now, let me just go over some of the players that were not playing in the fourth quarter of this game for Ohio State. Some of them not even playing most of the season or most of this game. But Ohio State was playing without number one wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba nearly the entire season, had that hamstring injury, and unfortunately just it went from like 1,600 yards to like 40 yards this whole season because of an injury probably about 5 minutes into the season. Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver number 2, goes out roughly the last 20 minutes of this game with a concussion, unable to play. Had 5 catches for like 105 yards in the first couple drives of the game and just was dominating. This guy will be the number 1 wide receiver off the board in the 2024 draft. He is that good and probably would be the number 1 wide receiver in this year's draft. He is that good. The Buckeyes were without running back Travion Henderson, a 5-star and explosive playmaker at running back. They were without running back number 2, Mayan Williams, who actually played in this game. He had a touchdown in this game, but he was not healthy. He was banged up. He didn't play in the second half, and I think he had 3 or 4 carries total. They were without running back number 3 in this game, Evan Pryor, who missed the entire season. Dallin Hayden stepped up as the 4th string running back for the Buckeyes, but because Henderson, Williams, and Pryor all out. And then you lose your tight end, Cade Stover, who has a decision to make. Is he going to come back to Columbus to be a 5th-year senior, former Mr. Ohio, or is he going to go pro? Former defensive end, former linebacker, but has really stepped up as a really excellent tight end for the Buckeyes this year. So those were the guys the Buckeyes were missing on Saturday for the majority of that game. And it was really, really unfortunate because, with a few of those guys and I'm not trying to make light Darrell Washington for Georgia. One of their 2 great tight ends went out early in this game. So injuries are a part of the game. I get that. But again, when you're out 4 to 5 skill players, elite skill players that really, really was affecting your performance in this game. And again, the Buckeyes have really good players behind them, but when you're replacing elite with really good, there's a drop down, and that can affect some of the games. So I do want to be positive here and shine some light on what Ohio State's offense was able to do to this Georgia defense. So Ohio State put up 41 points. Georgia averaged giving up less than 13 this whole season. The Buckeyes put up 467 yards of offense. Georgia this year gave up less than 300. They averaged 7.1 yards per play. Georgia this year, 4.7 yards per play allowed on defense. They threw for 348 yards, so roughly 130 yards more than what the Bulldogs allow per game. And actually, the rushing wasn't there in the first half, but really came all along in the second half, especially on Stroud's legs. 120 or 119 yards rushing, so about 50 yards more rushing in this game than the Bulldogs allow for the season. So the Ohio State offense really deserves a ton of credit for what they did against one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the country. And you can't give credit to that offense without talking about this guy, CJ Stroud, redshirt sophomore, will be an NFL player in a few months here. He will go pro. There's no reason for him to come back except for, there's lots of reasons for him to come back, win a national title, beat Michigan and stuff like that. But he's got nothing more to prove, and he's got millions and millions and millions of guaranteed dollars waiting for him in the NFL. So you cannot fault him for that. His completion percentage in this game, he was 23 of 34 for nearly 350 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And if you take out sack yardage, he rushed for almost 70 yards in this game. So really about, 420 yards of total offense responsible for in this game. He ends his Ohio State career playing 25 games, 575 for 830, which is about 70% completion, 8,123 yards, which is 325 yards per game, 85 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, and 136 rushing yards. So congratulations to CJ Stroud, who carries that torch of Buckeye quarterbacks that have Ryan Day, especially since he has taken over, Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields. Now, if you want to throw Joe Burrow in there, I know a lot of people don't want to count Joe Burrow as a Buckeye, but he did graduate from Ohio State and play 3 years in the system. But Joe Burrow, Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, who might be the offensive player in the year in the NFL, playing for a horrible team with the Chicago Bears. And now CJ Stroud takes on that legacy going forward for Ohio State. And then, we'll get into what's next for Buckeyes at quarterback, but want to give acknowledgement to CJ Stroud on just an unbelievable career for the Buckeyes. 2 other guys that I want to shine a light on for Ohio State was this wide receiver duo, who, by the way, will both be back in scarlet and gray next year. Now, the list I'm showing you, there's 9 players on it. Jackson Smith-Njigba, David Boston, Terry Glenn, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Ibuka, Chris Carter, Michael Jenkins, Paris Campbell, Garrett Wilson. Those are 9 players. The only 9 players in Ohio State's history with 1,000-yard seasons. Jackson Smith-Njigba did it last year. Paris Campbell did it just a few years back in 2018. Garrett Wilson did it in 2021 last year. And then the coming in at 4th and 5th on the list, Marvin Harrison Jr., 4th all-time in receiving yards in a season with 1,263, and Emeka Ibuka right behind them in 5th place with 1,151 yards in one single season. Both of these guys, again, will be back. Julian Fleming could go to the NFL. he will be back. The Buckeyes are going to be just fine at the skill positions. It's just a matter of, is the next guy, whether it's Kyle McCord, whether it's Devin Brown, are they ready to go? And Lincoln Kineholtz, a 4-star quarterback, comes in and should be, give them a little bit of depth at that position. And they're working on, the next round of quarterbacks that will be the elite guys that Ryan Day and staff will develop down there in Columbus. So just wanted to give those guys praise for what they did this season. Unfortunately, we only got to see them for 13 games this year. Wish it was 14 and 15, but we'll take what we can get. But look forward to watching Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Ibuka, and whoever's throwing them the ball next year, and hopefully a healthier running game for the Buckeyes next year. All right. So again, here's a little 2022 recap. Again, start the year off, beat Notre Dame, great win. You kind of roll through the Big Ten. Unfortunately, you had the little hiccup there in the third and fourth quarter with Michigan, especially the last 7 minutes against Michigan. This is the first time Ohio State finished the season with 2 straight losses since 2013. But again, you lost to 2 teams that are in the playoff and should have beat Georgia. And, I know what the score was, but you're right there with the Michigan Wolverines until 8 minutes left in that fourth quarter. And the Michigan Wolverines are they built themselves as a program to I don't want to say only, but to beat Ohio State. That's their job. Power run game, offensive line in the trenches, get a defensive line that pressures the quarterback, and give them credit because they've done that the last 2 years. Ohio State is that team that's designed to beat everybody. Now they've had a little bit of trouble with Michigan the last 2 years, and give again the Wolverines credit because they deserve it. But Ohio State is a team that's not going anywhere anytime soon, and the talent is going to keep coming in and keep getting better. I think they had the number 5 class in the country this year with recruiting. They had a really good class the year before. Now, the defensive side of the ball is where they really need to see some improvement. So we'll talk about that, but Jim Knowles and company will really need to figure out what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball, because you can't give up 40 points in back-to-back games. It's just not acceptable at the Ohio State University. It's not the standard. So all right. So I just off the top of my head was going through Ohio State's main impact players, starters or key contributors. And, there's some guys that, maybe are down the depth chart that might transfer or might not work out, might go somewhere elsewhere. And that's fine because hopefully Ohio State's going to bring some other guys in that could be impact players. But I had 5 guys for sure going to the NFL draft: CJ Stroud, Jackson Smith-Njigba, safety Ronnie Hickman, and your left and right tackle Paris Johnson Jr. and DeJuan Jones, both very, very good tackles. That is where I think Ohio State could be the most susceptible next year to trouble, is at that left and right tackle position. So they got to figure out the tackle position. I know they got some good talent there, but is it developed? Is it ready to go? That will remain to be seen. So we'll keep tabs on that during the off season. But there's a lot of guys that they've recruited from all over, not just the state, but the country, that are ready to step in and hopefully ready to play. But I think they're going to have to hit the transfer portal hard for, I'm going to say, offensive line and defensive back. And we'll see what they end up getting there. Now, some other guys. I have 6 on this list that could go to the NFL or could return. Now, again, this is just off the top of my head, but I think I feel pretty good about, again, this could be a coin flip with some of these guys, but some of these guys have a decision to make. Are they coming back to Columbus, or are they going to declare for the NFL draft? Tommy Eichenberg, your middle linebacker. Cade Stover, your tight end. Your center, Luke Whippler, came in with Stroud. He is draft eligible. He's been pretty good, but I think he couldn't get better. Mayan Williams, he's been banged up the whole year. As we know, the shelf life for running backs is not the longest, so we'll see what he ends up doing. Safety Lathan Ransom has really improved this year. I think he could go pro, but I also think he could develop and be improved for one more year in the Ohio State system. And then offensive guard Matthew Jones. That would be a big loss too. Hopefully Ohio State can get both Whippler and Jones back so they're not replacing 4 of their 5 offensive linemen. So those are the guys that I took a look at and think they could replace or could be on to the NFL. But again, who knows? And again, it's these guys' decision. And if you got a big paycheck out there waiting, you might be inclined to go to the NFL. But again, now with NIL, you might say, hey, maybe I can get a deal from this company, stay in college one more year, improve my draft stock, and get better. So again, that is their decision to make, and wish them the best of luck. They're Buckeyes no matter what. So with that said, let's check in on the rest of the New Year's 6 bowl games. These games were played over the last couple days here. But the Rose Bowl last night, Penn State 35, Utah 21. Another impressive showing in the Rose Bowl for a Big Ten team. In the Sugar Bowl, Alabama was actually down in this game 10-0, and then was up like 42-13. But they get the win 45-20. And I thought it was really cool. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, 2 probable top 5 picks in the draft, played in this. Again, I don't want to call it meaningless, but in a game that was not for the playoffs, was not for the national championship, but tip of the hat to them, because that's just pretty cool in my opinion. The Orange Bowl, Tennessee just beats up on Clemson. Tennessee, both of these guys were playing without their quarterbacks, their starting quarterbacks. Hendon Hooker for Tennessee was injured. DJ, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, transferred to Oregon State. So Tennessee beats up on Clemson, who Clemson would have been the number 3 seed in the new format of the college football playoff. So they would have got beat up by whoever they would have played. And then yesterday in the Cotton Bowl, Tulane 46, USC 45. Tulane was 2-10 last year, and just came on fire. Was the best group of 5 this year. They were also down 45-30 in this game with about 4 minutes left, and come back, get a touchdown, get a safety, and get another touchdown. And USC's defense, they had no business being in the college football playoff. Caleb Williams wins the Heisman, but USC's defense is just atrocious. So we'll see what Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch, what happens to them next year. So that's a look at some of the New Year's 6 bowl games. So those 4 games with the other 2 semifinal games. Now, sorry, we're sticking with a theme of B. I got to take a sip of bourbon here, so make sure my throat is staying clear. But I'm switching to basketball now, because last night, now this was unfolding during all that unfortunate situation with the Bills and the Bengals and Hamlin. So I didn't really want to see it. I was hoping for the best, praying for the kid, and wishing for the best. But I just couldn't watch that over and over and over. So I switched it, put on the Cavs game. The Cavs were actually down by like 15 points at halftime to the Bulls. And an unbelievable thing happened in the second half for the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell. So we know the Cavs picked up Donovan Mitchell in a trade with the Utah Jazz in the offseason. They pick up Donovan Mitchell, who arguably is a top 3, top 4 MVP candidate right now, with Giannis, Tatum, Jokic, one of those guys. Look at these numbers and what he did. Cavaliers fans were able to witness history last night. So the Cavaliers pick up a 145-134 win over the Chicago Bulls in overtime last night. But look at these numbers. Now, again, the game went to overtime. So 48 plus 5, 53 possible minutes to be played. in this game. Donovan Mitchell played 50 of them, played the entire third quarter, played the entire fourth quarter, and played the entire overtime. He scored 71 points last night. 71 points. You know, he was asked, have you ever scored 71 points in like a middle school, high school, you know, rec league? He said the only game he ever scored 71 in was playing as himself in like an NBA video game. So I thought that was pretty cool answered. Kevin Love said it was the best performance he's ever seen. And, you know, he's played with LeBron James. He's played with Kyrie Irving. So again, 71 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists. Now, let's just say, now I know some of those assists directly led to threes, but let's just say hypothetically that those assists were all 2-point baskets. So 22 plus the 71, that's 93 points accounted for just out of Donovan Mitchell. Just unbelievable. He also had 1 block in the game. He was 22 of 34 from the field. He was 7 of 15 from the 3-point line. He was 20 of 25 from the free throw line. So he got to the line 25 times. Unbelievable. And he was a plus 19 in a game that went to overtime. So just some unbelievable stuff by Donovan Mitchell. I have some things that are going to put this in context for you for what he did last night. And if you did not see it, you know, go find the clip on YouTube of just his made baskets. And it was not only just in a game that was a blowout one way or the other. This was in a game that was going back and forth with the Chicago Bulls. In a game, the Chicago Bulls were up by 21 at one point, and the Cavs came all the way back to tie it with like just a few seconds left in the game. So let me put this into perspective. Donovan Mitchell's 71 points last night, January 2nd, 2023, is the most in Cavs history in a single game. Okay, that's kind of obvious. It is tied for the 8th most points ever in an NBA game. Even more impressive. But here's what to me was unbelievable. Only 3 individuals, only 3 players in the history of the NBA have scored more points in an NBA game. Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, and David Thompson. So let's look at some of these numbers. Wilt Chamberlain. We all know he is famous for being the only player in NBA history to score 100 points. That is by far the most points in an NBA game. Kobe Bryant is second with 81. But then you look, 3rd, 4th, and 5th are all Wilt Chamberlain, 78, 73, 73. And look at these years he was doing this, 1962, 1961. That 1962 season for Wilt Chamberlain has to be one of the best in NBA history. David Thompson scored 73 in 1978. Wilt Chamberlain, again, 72 in 1962. And then last night, Donovan Mitchell, 71 points in 2022. So the only 2 games in the top 10 that happened in the 2000s, Kobe Bryant in 2006, Donovan Mitchell last night for the Cleveland Cavaliers. To round out this list, Elgin Baylor, 71 as well, tied, and David Robinson tied for 8th place there in 1960 and 1994, respectively. Devin Booker hit the 70 mark just a few years ago, 6 years ago, in 2017. And then Michael Jordan, had to put him on the list just with the namesake there. He had 69 points in 1990. So that should show you the context of this performance last night. Unbelievable to score. I mean, think about it. If you even have a 50-point game, he scored 21 more than that. It's just absolutely insane. And then I want to give you the Cavs numbers. Now, these are the only players to score 50 or more points in a Cavs uniform. Now, there's only 4 players on this list. Donovan Mitchell, obviously, with the 71 last night. LeBron with 57. Kyrie with 57. LeBron 56. Kyrie Irving 55. LeBron 55. LeBron 52. LeBron 52. Darius Garland 51 this year. LeBron 51, LeBron 51, LeBron 51, LeBron 50, and then Walt Wesley with 50. There has been 14 times in Cavaliers history that a player on the team has scored 50 or more points. That's it. 14 times. And think of all the thousands and thousands and thousands of games. Well, maybe not thousands and thousands, but several thousand games, and then multiply that by the number of players and think of all the great players. There's been a lot of bad ones too, but think of all the great players in Cavs history and only 4 guys. So Mitchell, LeBron, Kyrie, Darius Garland, Walt Wesley. So excuse me, 5 guys. So very, very, very impressive stuff there. Just to, cement that. So very, very impressive stuff. Let's give you a look just as a global perspective on the Cavs, what they're doing right now. Last night's win got them to 10 games over 500. They're 24-14 on the season. They are the 10th best rated offensive team in the league, scoring about 115 points per 100 possessions. They are the second best defensive team in the league, giving up about 109.6 points per 100 possessions. So 10th in offense, second on defense. They are also second in net rating, which is your total, basically your average per game that you're winning by or losing by. And they are second best in all the NBA there. So great stuff out of the Cavs. A few more numbers to throw at you. Here they are 48.2% shooting this year, 36.6% from the 3-point line, 78.7% from the free throw line. They are 17-4 at home, 7-10 on the road, 17-8 against the Eastern Conference, 7-6 against the Western Conference. And then I love this bottom stat here, 6-0 in overtime games, 6-0. So you look at the Cavs record and 24-14. Let's just say you even split those overtime games. So you take away 3 wins, that gets you down to 21, and you add 3 losses. So they'd be 21-17 if they were just 3-3 in overtime. But now they're 24-14 just based on their overtime performance. So great job for the Cavaliers. Month by month performance so far: 5-1 in the month of October, 9-7 in November, 9-6 in December, and starting off the year right, going 1-0 in the month of January. Look at the week ahead. They have coming up tomorrow night, they play the Phoenix Suns at home. And then they start a little bit of a road trip there. You got, you're at the Denver Nuggets, you're at Phoenix again on Sunday, and then next Tuesday at the Utah Jazz. So that's a look at the Cavs. One more thing I want to throw at you with the Cavs: Darius Garland, Mobley, Allen, and Mitchell all doing some great stuff. So you can check out the numbers there. But just putting up some great things. And also one other thing that made that performance just even more excellent last night: Darius Garland and Evan Mobley didn't even play in that game. So just some remarkable stuff for the Cavs. And then final thought here, we're going to just shift real quick. We're going to talk about this on Thursday, but the Browns and the Steelers play on Sunday. This will be a 1:00 game, and this is the only thing I'm really going to say about it. Browns are 7-9. They're eliminated from the playoffs. The Steelers are 8-8. They are not eliminated from the playoffs. A Browns win and a Steelers loss, both teams would finish with eight wins and 9 losses. Now, here's what's on the line. So first of all, the Steelers coming in are a 3-point favorite. The total is 39 points. But obviously the Steelers' playoff hopes are on the line. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. That is on the line. And can the Browns sweep the Steelers? The last time the Browns swept the Steelers was in 1989. I was not even 8 years old at the time that happened. So, or I was actually 8 years old at the last time that happened. So very, very, very long time ago that the Browns have swept the Steelers. They have that on the line for you on Sunday. Just a few more notes here. Deshaun Watson through 5 games. The most important stat is the 3-2 record. he is not completing the ball at the percentage we would like, but obviously we know you throw in that weather game versus the Saints, you throw in his first game, a couple bad performances there. But overall, starting to improve, especially against Washington this past weekend. You eliminated them from the playoffs, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and has 131 yards rushing with 1 touchdown on the ground so far. Now, real quick, and I'm just going to run through this super fast, but here's the playoff scenarios for the AFC. And if you're a Steeler fan, this is going to be important to you. But the Jacksonville-Tennessee game is a winner-take-all game. So the winner of this game will be the number 4 seed in the playoffs. They will host the number 5 seed. The Jaguars could still make it into the playoffs if they win, or excuse me, if they lose, and the Dolphins, Patriots, and Steelers all lose. So they can make it as an 8-9 team. The Dolphins, to me, this is the best scenario. The Dolphins have the best scenario, playing for the last wild card spot. They need a win over the Jets, who have been eliminated. They've lost 5 in a row. The Patriots to lose to the Bills, who we know the Bills situation right now, and they will clinch a playoff spot. The Patriots, if they win versus Buffalo, they're in. But Buffalo is playing for the number 1 seed. If they lose, but Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, and the Dolphins all need to lose too. And then the Steelers. For the Steelers to get in, they must beat the Browns and have the Patriots and Dolphins lose. None of those scenarios are like completely far-fetched, in my opinion, but that's kind of what we're looking at right now. So we will see what happens. In the NFC, there are really only 2 games that are affecting who gets into the playoffs. The Packers and Lions. This is going to be one of the best games of the weekend. The Packers, they win and they are in. The Lions need to win and the Seahawks to lose. If the Lions win and the Seahawks lose, the Detroit Lions make the playoffs. That would be awesome. The Seahawks and Rams are the other game. Seattle needs to beat the Rams at home next weekend, and they also need a Lions win over the Packers or a tie between those 2 teams. It's very convoluted, very confusing. I'll post that to our social media in case you didn't quite catch it, but that is out there. And then real quick look. Now, we know Buffalo and Cincinnati could not finish the game for obvious reasons last night. So their records, they're only showing 15 games played. The rest of the teams are showing 16 games played. I mentioned the Jaguars winning in or the Titans winning in. But it's going to be between the 1 seed for Kansas City and Buffalo. And then your wild cards right now are the Chargers and Ravens. So that's a look kind of at the playoff scenarios. We will have plenty more for you on Thursday, but appreciate you guys watching. Again, prayers to the Buffalo player. Hope he, pulls through. And if you're feeling in the mood, go donate to that charity that he represents. It's on a GoFundMe page. We can't share that because of Facebook reasons, but if that's something you're able to do and willing to do, go seek it out. But prayers to that man and his family. So for Joe Danier behind the scenes here, I'm Justin, and we appreciate you watching. Again, Happy New Year to everybody. We will see you again later this week.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown